So hi everybody, my name is Alice Volpitta. I am your Baltimore Harbor Waterkeeper, and I'm also a mom. So I have a 3-year-old little girl, her name is Audrey, and she's been asking me these weird questions lately. And, you know, she's 3, so she's just like kind of figuring out the world and experiencing everything at the speed of light and not really knowing what to do with it. And I realized that these questions that she's asking me are things that have already happened to her in her life, but she wants me to retell her the stories of what's already happened to her in her life. And so she says things like, "Mama, tell me about when Julia threw a block at my eye and I started bleeding." And that was a particularly difficult day at preschool when she came home with a black eye. And then she asked me, "Mama, tell me about when I threw up in the gym." And that was another difficult day in preschool. And I started realizing that she's asking me to tell her about things that have happened that are slightly traumatic and things that are, you know, difficult for a 3-year-old to process because they're confusing or scary and she doesn't really understand what's happening. And so a couple of weeks ago, she started asking me, "Mama, tell me about the dead eel." And this coincides with a couple of weeks ago. My husband and I were celebrating our 7-year anniversary by going for a hike in Oregon Ridge Park with our daughter, Audrey. And about 1 p.m. after our hike, I get this call from my colleague, Barbara. And she says, "Alice, we got a call on the reporter hotline, the pollution reporting hotline, and there's been a fish kill in the Jones Falls." And I say, "Okay, thanks, Barbara. It's a Sunday." She doesn't expect me to do anything about it at the time. I say, "Just call the National Response Center. They'll dispatch everybody who needs to be there." Great. I hang up the phone. I turn to my husband and I say, "You want to go on an adventure?" And, you know, he's married to a waterkeeper, so he gets it. And we get in the car and we go. But this is actually the first time that my daughter Audrey has been out with me on an investigation. So it's a new experience for her. We get down to the area of the fish kill. Barbara is there. She has her waders. She has our water quality monitoring instrument because she's amazing. We walk down through the woods. We walk into the stream. And I see dozens of dead fish in the stream, in this little section of stream that I can see. There's suckers, there's crayfish, and there's the eel. There's this big, enormous silver American eel laying on the stream bed, dead. And I walk over to it, and there's really nothing we can do at this point. These fish are dead or they're dying. There's nothing we can do other than just witness what's happening in the moment. And I put on my gloves, and I pick up this eel, and I turn to Barbara, and I say, "I need you to take a picture of me holding this eel." And it feels exploitative, and it feels wrong to be in some way, in some social media currency, profiting off of this dead creature. But that's the way that you speak on behalf of rivers. And that's the way that you give a voice to the things in this world that don't have a voice. And so my daughter is standing there, and the very first interaction she's ever had with an eel in real life, it's dead. And it's traumatic for her. And, you know, I think that spouses and families of waterkeepers, they must have like their own nickname or their own club or their own support group or something. Because bless his heart, my husband takes our daughter for 3 hours and just explores the woods while I put on a pair of waders with Barbara and we just start walking upstream because we're gonna find what killed that eel. And we start walking upstream. After a few hundred yards, I smell this smell. It's acid. I keep walking upstream. I see a stormwater outfall in the banks just below a factory a few hundred yards up the way. We get closer to the outfall and an overpowering stench of acid hits me. I have to put my nose under my shirt. We take our water quality monitoring instrument, our YSI, we stick it in the water right in front of this outfall. The pH is 3.8. Drinking water is a pH of 7. This is acid. I don't know what kind of acid it is, but it's acid. The concrete around this stormwater outfall has been completely eaten away by the acid that has been discharged from this outfall. We walk just past the factory. There's no dead fish above the factory. It's the factory. We see a permitted discharge at the north end of the factory, but it smells like chlorine. We learn later from the MDE inspection report that the dechlorination system at this factory is offline. It's not working because the stuff in the tank that's supposed to dechlorinate the water, it's empty. It's been like that for 51 days. So chlorinated water is discharging into the stream, but also this outfall has been discharging acid. We learn later from the MDE inspection report that a pipe originating from underneath this factory is tied into the MS4, the stormwater system, and that's all we know for now. I find out later that this factory we've been looking at is a vinegar factory. Now this story, it's odd telling this as like a Clean Water Act success story because it actually doesn't have an amazing win ending. It's not a huge success. It doesn't have a nice bow to wrap around it. Because like so many of our stories, this one is still under investigation. It's still a pending matter. But what I can tell you is that when my daughter asks me, Mama, tell me the story about the eel, it has a different ending now. That story doesn't end with Audrey seeing a dead eel for the first time. That story ends with me saying, somebody did something wrong, pollution went into the water, and the fish got very sick and they died. But Mama found out who did it. And Mama works very hard every day to make sure that nothing like that ever happens again, because Mama is a waterkeeper.